Good afternoon, good evening, good night, wherever you happen to be or whenever you happen to be listening to this. I am the Expert Layman, and I am actually not going to be talking about some weird psychological or deep philosophical meaning of life stuff. I am going to be talking about how much fun I've been having with my Smite Priest. And I'm going to pre-apologize if there's a problem with the stream. I set it at 25, and it's running at 50. That can't be right. And I love Negran, whatever it is. It's just beautiful. And, you know, oddly similar to my banner. I put a lot of effort into this. I just removed my little... but the Smite Priest. I have been having so much fun with this, because I tried to make it work in vanilla. I suppose I couldn't, switch screens. There we go. Talents. I tried to make this work in vanilla, but basically it looked like somebody was trying to make the thing possible, but too many things were left broken for it to work in vanilla. Things like, Holy Nova is not supposed to, it's like AoE damage and healing, but it's not supposed to generate any threat either from the damage or from the healing. But there were many, many mobs inside Karazhan who didn't get the memo that they were supposed to ignore the threat generated by that ability and would just eat you anyway. I think the underlying talent interaction is different. Like the ability, this right here, the spiritual guidance. This seems to work properly now, and now it has a weird interaction with improved Divine Spirit, to where if I give myself Divine Spirit, which is, shoot, I got it covered up. My Divine Spirit gives 50, it gives 50 Spirit, but when I apply it to myself, I get 55 damage and healing. So, and that does make this buff. Okay, I guess I should start at the beginning. This is a hybrid spec that lets you be 90% as good a healer as a true spec, and at least at lower gear levels. I'm guessing there's probably not good gear support for this in raiding beyond like Karazhan, but you can kick the crap out of DPS. Today. Shoot, I keep trying to tell a story instead of explaining what it is. Yeah, basically so you can have like 90% of the healing and do as much damage as a Shadow Priest while probably offering more utility than any other class. For example, I've only done 2 dungeons as DPS, level 70 dungeons. I hadn't planned on DPSing, but what I'd done when I was leveling is I would see a group forming, and if I saw that they were looking for heals or DPS, I would just wait to see whatever was left. But that happened a couple times with DPS, and I'm like, okay, let's see if it's working. And luckily, I'd gathered enough gear with hit on it to perform well. And the last 2 dungeons I ran, Steam Vaults. Actually, last 2 Steam Vaults runs. I haven't DPS'd a Shadow Labyrinth yet. Last 2 runs, I was first on damage, and there were people, and was one person in each with like raid gear, like full epics. But to be fair, one of them didn't seem too bright, and the other one seemed like he was just being chill, like. Maybe he was in there with a friend of his and he just didn't want to. You know, I have not done a volume check. I really, really should do that. Okay, that's not going to work. Yeah, it seems to be good. Oh. No, down. Stop. So I don't think he was like just like being a dick and holding back. I think he was actually trying not to be a dick. So, fascinating though. Just when you have a a 2-second cast spell that hits for like 1100. That's some pretty easy DPS to figure out. And that's without any crits or a Flash of Light procs, which is so awesome. Flash of Light is your spell criticals have a 50% chance to cause your next Smite spell to be instant cast, cost no mana, but be incapable of a critical hit. This effect lasts 10 seconds. This is crazy awesome. And it was actually broken when they first put it out, because they had to add the being incapable of critical, because like they would string on. It's like ba-bam, 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 like but the great thing about this is it works really well with Holy Nova, because if there's like a group of people and enemies, allies, doesn't really matter. It heals your allies and damages your enemies. But if any one of those any of that potential damage or healing on any of those targets crits, I have a 50% chance of a free smite. So, as the number somewhere around 4 or 5, you're more likely than not to get a free smite out of it. So you go Holy Nova, which is a little costly. It's 788 mana, but it's like Holy Nova, free smite, Holy Nova, free smite. And you can rack up some pretty decent damage that way. The whole build is built around spirit. And that's the really hard thing to get your head around. And it's around pieces of gear that weren't really balanced right. And I think the best example is this. This is crazy. This is a level 61. Like, level 70 bracers with, like, just, like, intellect on them and a gem slot is like a level 60. I have not found anything. Plus, every piece of gear, I will find one with some amount of spirit on it, because spirit is, like, everything. Like, even completely unbuffed, this is my mana regen, like 500, but with my spirit buff, and then, add raid buffs on top of that, that's 100 mana per second and change. The biggest thing with the Smite Priest was, in vanilla, was you just ran out of mana. It just wasn't very mana efficient. I think they lowered the cost of it, of Smite, a little bit. Because I can seem to go on for a long time, but I'm also better at building a gear set, and I knew what I wanted better, and I threw probably too much time and money at it. So here's my strategy with the gear. Okay? Try to make sure there's spirit on every piece of gear, because of the way they seem to itemize, and I'm not an expert on this, I'm just kind of going on what I've noticed in intuition and being kind of like autistic and studying systems. Adding spirit to a piece of gear if a piece of gear has a certain number of item points, you could say, and then those item points can be turned into stats. For whatever reason, spirit is often tacked on and not actually taken from the item cost of the item. So, like, even without the spirit, this would be a pretty damn good piece of gear. And it was probably itemized without the spirit included. Because spirit is, basically crap for everyone but me. And druids like it too. This is my only piece. I'm finding a neck piece with spirit, and I don't even care. And that's the other thing. I don't make a distinction. Like, if it's completely even, I'll take a piece that has, healing over damage, where it has like 4 times as much, or 3. Yeah, it's basically like 3, yeah. 19 to 57, that's 3 times, so. And what they appear to do with that is, this would have been 38 damage, but then they take that 38 damage and split it into 2, which one is 19 and it stays damage, and the other is turned into healing and multiplied by 3. And that is basically how they do the itemization when they take a piece of gear and turn it into a piece of healing gear. Like, we'll just take the damage and cut it in half and take the other half, multiply it by 3, and that's the healing. And that seems to be the ratio on every piece of gear, like 3 times 14, 42. At the point with that, but like, mana per 5 is just death. Like, I hate it. I try not I have it on pieces of gear. And if I've got mana per 5, it's also got spirit. But mana per 5 is just a dead stat. It is the smelly kid sitting in the corner of stats, in that it doesn't interact with talents like at all. It's just like on its own little island, just doing its little boring thing. Because I get so much from spirit, like 12 spirit. I don't know how much mana for 5 that is, but that's 3. Actually, it's more like 5 spell damage for me. You know, damage and healing. The spirit is just worth so much more to me. Like it's even worth like dumping the stamina bonus, which I do need stamina, but just like spirit is life. Spirit followed by crit, and then make sure that you have a damage and healing stat on each piece. So spirit, you'll pick up intellect and stamina along the way. You don't really have to focus on it. And since you're mostly about regen and not just about having as much, the largest mana pool possible, you can essentially ignore, at least while you're leveling, stamina and intellect, because it'll come. So you want to have something with spirit and something with damage and healing. And, it's not that important whether it's just, even split damage and healing or healing priority allocation. Not really that important to make a distinction between the two, because you'll heal pretty well with both. So spirit, make sure it has, damage and healing. And oddly, after that, it seems to be crit. Crit is helpful more for DPS, just because it gives you, it gives the potential of that free smite. Like I said, mana per 5 sucks. But these bracers just blow me away. Like, I can't replace them. They're 61, but they have the itemization of like a level 70 piece. Like, you'll find these laying around where they're just kind of like, that's too many stats. And this is why I could have put healing on these, but like I was low on stamina, so. Yeah, 3 spirit. Woo, but that is a crazy amount of spirit. What's really funny, okay. It'd probably be simpler if I kill that buff. Okay, I am at 499 bonus damage with my Staff of Divine Infusion, which has 64 damage. But if I swap in my Battle Mage's Baton... Oh, no, I have to do this with the spirit buff on. Otherwise it doesn't work. Sorry. Okay. Let's reset here. Okay, I got 566 with the 65 damage and 567 with the 85 damage. That kind of gives you an idea of how much I get out of spirit. Is that is not a small amount. So yeah, crit is nice. And just try to get spirit crit with damage and healing and everything. What was I going to say? Oh, the talents. I'll explain this. This is just kind of nice as utility. And this, you can, if you run out of mana, like, it's like, okay, I'll just wand now. But, like, my regen is good enough that, like, I can dot and wand and, like, gain it back pretty quickly. And, of course, the threat is very nice. And this is one of the linchpins of making the whole thing work. It's like 30% goes on. So even while I'm mind controlling somebody, I'm getting 30% of my mana regen. And this is just ridiculously overpowered. It's just, like, 1 point. That's great. This might be debatable, but, I do a lot of instant cast, and it's all your instant cast spells, not just, like, one school. Sure, there's some points where that's mostly PvP, I would imagine, but some boss fights. And the spirit buff is nice. It's, like, 50 at max level. But this is the one that's nice to to other people, because I imagine most casters will have it, between, like, 400 and 600 spirits. So, that's 40 to 60 spell power they didn't have. And this I grabbed recently because I swear this wasn't there before. The additional chance to hit. Maybe I was just dumb because I was. Implying I'm not now, but, you know, let's say less dumb. But hit, you know, with that, and I have, I have enough pieces to get me 7%, and then another 4% for talents. I believe it's, is it 15% or 14% is like cap for a raid boss, so that's within range. I'm actually probably geared enough to at least heal a raid, even though the stuff is lower. I'm just like really focused. My biggest problem is my low health. Like I die too easily, and that's really where the difference comes with the better gear. And I'm hoping I can not bust up what's working. Oh my god, I had a run. It was the most beautiful run ever. I was level 66. Everybody else was 70s. I had 3 paladins and a shaman. And the crit and mana I got from the shaman was insane. I had Sanctity Aura, which is 10% holy damage. I had... if I'm on the kill target, you know, which, you know, I am, especially because there's a Judgment of Light and a Judgment of Wisdom. So I'm just hitting ridiculously hard and critting all the time. And it was nuts. And it was kind of cool. Everybody was kind of getting a kick out of it because I was kicking the crap out of the 70 DPS, but it was just because I had like the perfect storm of buffs. I couldn't run out of mana. I was just spamming smites, and I'm just watching. It's like, it'll go down and down. Like, I might lose like 1% a minute or 2% a minute. It was just, I could, unless I was doing something extra beyond just spamming smite. As long as I was spamming smite on a target with Judgment of Wisdom, which is the Paladin Judgment that gives you mana gives people mana every time they hit the target with the Judgment on them. That was so much fun. I got to see the potential. So I think it might survive into raiding because of the changes they made and the stuff they fixed. It looks like Fade is completely fixed now. I mean, they'll still stay on me after a mind control, but I'll give them that one because I can understand how, you know, you might just write off everyone else on your aggro table and want to kill the person that got inside your head, you know? It kind of fits with the lore a bit. So I don't really have a problem with that. Oh, holy. Renew is nice just because it smooths things out, and a lot of this stuff is PvP related. Anything where you're taking when you take a crit, like, you know, if you're just like healing, you're probably not getting critted a whole lot, so that's mostly PvP stuff. I do like the increased range, but things are kind of tight here, and I really wanted Holy Nova. The debatable part comes lower. And this is just, you know, and the Divine Fury is basically Blizzard saying, we want you to attempt a hybrid spec that lets you do both. And I know that's nice, but, like, it's really abstract and hard to tell when it's helping, and it's one of the things that, yeah, like, increasing their armor by a certain percentage, but there isn't like an armor cap, but there's a diminished return point where, like, it'd probably be better spending those points somewhere else. Unless you're like doing like, because I've seen some specs where they're basically just spamming flash heal. In which case, you know, you'll get a crit often enough. I was just looking to see if they had a Holy Nova on there. You know, like that'd be kind of cool, but like that would be a little overpowered. And that, yeah, obviously for Smite. And reducing the mana cost on the greater heal does really help a lot. And range is nice. And that, just 10% for one... Well, Prayer of Mending you'll use a lot more often, but like just for 2 abilities, 10% doesn't really seem worth it. And this, just 5% total spirit, obviously. This is a spirit build, so this is a must. Plus, it's kind of nice, once you die, you can at least, like, send them off with, like, the whole party full health. There's another critical part of the build, like spell damage and healing by 25% of your total spirit. That is nice. And the thing is, the spiritual guidance, what it looks like is the way it interacts with this goes on top of this. They don't work together at all. So that's how I can get 55 damage and healing out of a spirit buff that only gives me 50 spirit. And Flash of Light, critical to doing DPS. 10% on all your heals. That's a big deal. And I had this for a long time, but it's so situational. Like, even when you have 3 points, like 6%, I don't know, what is that, every like 11 casts or 12 casts or something? I don't know, 13 casts? 13 casts. 14? I'll get there. And then it's like when it does come up, you feel like compelled to make the most of it. So you might hold off your greater heal to try to like shoehorn the talent into being useful when it often isn't. And freaking Lightwell's dumb. And this is another critical hit thing, which is, usually PvP related. This one people might want to argue about, but you really have to kind of look at the fine print on it. This, it's 20%, 10% when it's capped. So your like greater heal gains an additional 20% of your bonus healing effects. Like, that sounds pretty good. It's like, no, it's not increasing your greater heal by 20%. It's increasing your bonus healing by 20%, and then that is being applied to your heal. So it's much lower than increasing your heal by like if you have 1,000 plus healing, and then you pop a greater heal, it's not a 1,200 heal. I mean, I back up. Your healing for that spell is functionally 1,200, but all of that 200 doesn't end up into the heal. It'd be some subset of it, like, maybe 100, 110, something like that. Whereas if you spend the points over here, it not only helps you out more because it has like a cumulative effect. It helps out everybody else. And this, this extra, and even though, it's only another, I just got a notification. What was that about? Sorry. What the hell? Hell! I thought I had a chat that didn't come through right. That's just me getting notified of my stream. But that additional damage and healing based on your total spell power or total spirit, in which case, if I'm at like 500 spirit and then I get this buff, that's 50 damage and healing. Now that 50 damage and healing is a far cry from the, like 200, but that's 50 on all of my heals and 50 damage on all of my damage, not 200 on one specific thing. Or it's actually two things, but like I'm not a big on the binding heal. Maybe if I had the set bonus, there's some situations. Oh wait, they're over here. Go back to my heal set. Yeah. Or if you get the 30%, the two-piece bonus gives a 30% chance to avoid interruption caused by damage while casting binding heal. Unless I'm mistaken, you combine that with this, it makes your binding heal uninterruptible, which I can imagine would be really useful. Not uninterruptible, but uninterruptible by damage. That would be pretty cool, and I'd probably use it, but and Circle of Healing is crap. It's like it's like barely better than Holy Nova, and if Holy Nova didn't do bad damage. Well, this is my Holy Priest build. I'm looking forward. There's a neck piece that I'm looking for out of Old Hillsbred, and I've almost got the cash for my flying mount, and then I'll get my last shard for my Karzan attunement, and I still need to find like a casual guild. I figure they've settled down and stratified, and there's probably one or two decent, friendly casual Kara guilds out there right now that I can have some fun with. anything else about this build? Oh, I put a lot of resources into him because I wanted to make him easier to level. And then I just wanted to see how much I could pump him up. And then I would use consumables on him, and he would just tear through stuff. Like, he can, like, right now, I wonder if there's someplace close I could demonstrate this. Nah. Basically, I can pull AoE groups and do them like a mage. I'll pull like 4 or 5, depending on what they are and, you know, what kind of annoying things they might do. And as I'm pulling them, I pop a trinket and get a shadow word paint on each one. When they, you know, as they catch up to me, I put a renew on myself. And if I'm in a safe place, I'll just pure bomb them. Regen while they're going away. But then when they come back, I'll pop my Shadow Fiend, which is out for like 15 seconds, and every time it hits, it gives you mana. It'll give you a few thousand mana. So if you have him out, and then, you know, pop the second trinket when, you know, they come back from from the Fear Bomb, and then I can basically just spam Holy Nova till they're all dead. Like, I have enough mana, it does enough damage, and I can do that with like groups of 4 or 5 my level. And it doesn't seem like the kind of thing a priest should be able to do, you know? Like, I feel like I'm dipping into mage Kool-Aid. I was joking about that because I was with 2 mages. Kick both their asses. But like I said before, that one guy he seemed like he was trying not to be a dick by just demolishing us. So, highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. It's something different. Blizz fixed a lot of stuff for this to work, and I think they actually went through. I think there's a lot of stuff that was intended to be done that they didn't get to. There's a lot of stuff like that, like half finished builds. Like I wonder if they fixed the Retribution Paladin stuff, because like it was like really close, but then it just had this bursty threat problem that just made them. Well, I don't want to say they weren't viable for DPS. You just had to include the comedic value of their frequent deaths. That's part of the equation. And I mean that literally, like bringing good nature to your raid. Like more than once, there's been like a person who's just terrible at the game, but they're just so much fun to be around that nobody cares, you know. But the thing I really like about this build is I like being useful, and I like being able to be useful in multiple ways. Here's an example, and here's how I knew that one mage wasn't an idiot and he was probably just being nice and not murdering us on the charts. Is there was just this random, like, beeline fear where the guy ran way further than he should have. So it wasn't really anybody's fault. Like, the tank pulled everything back. Like, it's pretty much doing everything by the book. It was just like one of those random. And this other group comes in with like, was it like 5 or 6? And as they're running in, I notice, like, I break because I'm going to try to grab one of them with a mind control. And I noticed that, like, the mage has, like, had the exact same thought, and he's moving up too. So the tank is, like, he's already tanking, like, 3 mobs. And there's 2 making a beeline right for the healer. And there's 3 casters that stayed out, and they've started casting on the healer. So, you know, pretty ugly situation. But it turned around so quick as the tank started picking up the 2, and the mage sheeped 1. I got a mind control on the other, and then immediately attacked the 3rd with the one I had mind controlled. And the tank, like, turned around like, I gotta go pick up those other ones. And I was like, oh, you know. Obviously he didn't say that. It was like, you almost saw it in his step, like, oh, okay, cool then, you know. Nice. But I like being able to do stuff like that. When things go sideways, have a full-fledged healer that can just immediately switch over from DPSing and be just as good as the actual healer. Sometimes better. And I did run into a guy who was just being a dick healer. He was like intentionally leaving the tank low. And I'm like watching his heal cycle and where his mana's at. And it's like, there's no reason to be leaving him that low, you know? And I like shamed him into not being a dick. So I just pretended that I I didn't realize he was doing it and just started healing to help out. And then he started like healing like he's supposed to. And it's like, oh, you know, it's a rather abstract contribution, but shaming a guy into not being toxic, you know, that I like being useful in that way too. And oh, what was that? Who's the boss in Shadow Labs who mind controls everybody? You know, I did DPS Shadow Labs. Sorry, I was wrong earlier. No, I was healing. Because that was the joke. The guy's like, anything else about this fight? As we're kind of explaining it, is like, blow all your good cooldowns early, or he will use them on your teammates. And he will. Because he mind controls the entire group and makes you fight each other. And it's like, well, one thing for sure, the healer always dies, especially if they're a priest. And I'm like, I take exception to that. I think I might survive. Like, no, you're not going to. And at one point, was it Mogoth? He just makes a beeline straight for me after knocking the tank, like the opposite direction. And I probably did, and just renew myself, spam flash heals. I'm like, okay, well, this is all I can really do because I faded and he said, fuck you. And I survived, but like just barely. And I'm like, who is that said the healer always dies? But I guess that doesn't really have anything to do with the build. A regular healer could have done that, I suppose, but I don't know. And having the fear ward and having an extra fear bomb. Just that having I don't know. I just like being useful in a lot of ways. And I know everybody's like, okay, let's figure out what my class does and then how I can kick everybody else's asses at it. So it's like, you know, just damage meter junkies, which is so nice about that guy. I guess I'm going in circles here, but if you have a priest and you're leveling, because I should give some leveling advice. One, specialization. 25% is a lot. And what it does let you do, because you have like two options and it's pretty much the same the entire way you're leveling. You can hit them, put your 2 dots on them, or 1 dot, and then renew yourself and then just wand until they're dead. You might have to, depending on where your gear's at and what level they are, you might have to reapply the Shadow Word Pain and then wand some more, but like, it lets you keep going. Even though your kill time is slow, once you get outside the 5 seconds and start regenning, like, it makes it more efficient even if it seems slow, because like, leveling my mage and my priest at the same time was like interesting because it's like blow a bunch of stuff up, drink for 30 seconds. Blow a bunch of stuff up, drink for 30 seconds. Or you can kill stuff a little bit slower and you don't really even have to drink that often. But yeah, the wand, yeah, and basically the wand, the holy specialization, like get your smite on early. I might even say get your smite on before your wand, but the wand is really powerful. Like, I'm hitting with my 158 to 293. I'm hitting I'm getting crits over 500 on that. It's freaking wild. Anything else? No, I think that's everything I wanted to cover. It could be debatable. Like, it depends. Like, if you were in a group, you might want to have the improved power word fortitude instead of this. But this seems like utility. You know, you don't notice it that often, but every once in a while, it's like a gust of wind comes in and blows everybody else away with fear, and you're just kind of standing like, oh. And you can't ever know if it was the talent. That's what sucks about these talents. Like, you never know when it's working or not working. And that kind of, I don't know, deep abstraction makes it hard to feel like it's doing something for you, even when it is. Oh, well, this was Smite Priest, a guide to the ultimate hybrid spec. I hope you check it out. I love it, and I can't wait to see where it goes. I am the expert layman. You all have a great I've screwed that up too many times. I forget that my mic, you know what? You don't want to hear it. I'm just going to say, you all, just be awesome. Have fun. Do something you like. take care of something you don't want to do, and then go play some video games because you play better that way. I'm the Expert Layman. You all have a great day.